family for inviting me. The African market of today is abundant with resources, potential, and consists of young, energetic entrepreneurs. Our job today is to open the doors and bridge the gaps with the rest of the world with the African markets. I represent a group called the Prodigy Group. We are at our core a corporate service provider, but beyond that, we manage our own co-working centers, which we can offer physical offices, business addresses, and virtual setups as well. And beyond that, we work on other ancillary services that includes all kinds of visa issuances and business banking. And I am very excited to be here, and I'm here to answer your questions as well. So feel free to type them down as well by the end of this session. I look forward to answering them.
Thank you so much. So yes, I will be asking you a lot of questions, but before we start, I would like to zoom in on why Dubai. We've spoken about the UAE, but why would you say that Dubai specifically is a destination a lot of the African entrepreneurs, African businesses, and African families consider in the development of their own lifestyle or of their businesses?
See, simply put, Dubai is sort of the crossroads between Asia, Africa, and Europe. Within an 8-hour flight radius, it connects you to approximately 2/3 of the world's population. So this in itself becomes an ideal location for you to have, your regional headquarters or, to set up your business base as well. Beyond that, it is considered one of the safest countries and safest cities consistently through all kinds of global metrics. So for your family, for women and children, this is the safest city in the world. Beyond that, Dubai is the only city in the world that is specifically designed for global trade. From their airports to logistics to the trade hubs, everything is designed specifically to optimize your business and trade. It's the only country in the world where I think the majority of your services can be handled through digitally through our government portals. So everything regarding the government, any kind of services are all digitally handled. There is a very sophisticated internationally global banking segment here that involves from anywhere from private wealth, investment banking to international trade as well. And beyond that, of course, I think everybody is familiar with the real estate investments. So at the moment, I think it's one of the strongest markets in terms of rental yields and capital appreciation globally. Beyond that, of course, the education and moreover, what we need to understand is that Dubai holds a key strategic position for African businesses and African hubs to expand into Europe and further into Asia as well. So
absolutely. And also one thing that I would like to say, but before that, I'll just ask my co-organizers, Warda and Seun, to mute themselves, please. Seun as well. And before we hear all about her life in Nigeria, if she can mute herself. Sorry for that. So just one point that I want to say as well is that we cater up mostly to African families and African entrepreneurs. And one thing that they tell us a lot is that they feel very welcome in Dubai. They feel very at ease in Dubai, whether they come for personal reasons, for healthcare, for education, for business, any sector they come to is welcoming to them. So that's a very, very important point. Before we dig into the different residency types and how we become eligible to these different residency types, I would like to also touch upon why the residency actually matters, why African families and entrepreneurs need to have a UAE residency. It's not just about living in the UAE, right? It's about creating options for them, for example, a second base, easing their access to Europe, as you said, and to Asia, through even the possibility to require the visas for traveling from here, but also like logistically easing it, right? Because from Dubai or from the UAE, you can very easily fly in and out of different regions in the world either using our excellent Emirates airline or different airlines. What would you say that from your perspective, what would you say is the most important about seeking the UAE residency?
In my opinion, Dubai is a place where entrepreneurs, investors, families come to build, not just long-term wealth, but also, global operations, improve their quality of life. And as you said previously as well, that, I don't know anybody who's come to Dubai and doesn't consider Dubai home. So, which speaks volume about, the sort of comfort, the sort of freedom of movement that you have, the ability to sponsor your family to then, move to Dubai, the access to local businesses. Property ownership is very, very easy here. Business opportunities are immense. The world-class schools, I think one of the best in terms of education globally. All the top brands are moving their best into this country. So UAE residence is not just an immigration status. It's a platform for business, for protection, for wealth, for growth.
I would like to add one point to what you said on the education part. A lot of international universities are recently moving in, etc. However, here at what has been here, I think for 30 years. So some of these very well recognized high education institutions are present since ever. So it's consolidating as a right choice for education for your children, but it's also been in existence for a while. I'll just move now to the definition of the topic of the day and what it really means to be to have a UAE golden visa. What does it really cover, please?
So, golden visa, now in its purest essence, is a long-term residency. It's designed to attract investors, professionals, specialists, entrepreneurs, exceptional talent. Unlike traditional visas, it offers you the option of staying for 5 or 10 years in this country, and that it doesn't require a local sponsor. It allows you to sponsor your families. There are several pathways to qualification, but most commonly there is, property, investments, entrepreneurial paths.
We will come to the different categories. I think I've listed 8 categories, and I would love to hear your opinion about every one of these categories. So first, if you can tell us what each category mean, or if you can maybe focus on the most interesting ones, and then if you can tell us which one you prefer or you let's say advocate more for. So here, for example, we have the investment route, the fixed deposit, the real estate investment, the retirement, but we also have the specialists and professionals, the students and graduate, the special talents and athletes, and the self-employment option. But let's go back one step and look at these 4 by 4, and then if you can tell us how we become eligible and why would you advocate for one more than the other?
See, our role here is always to question, or the question that we ask is, it's not about which one we should be speaking about. It's about which golden visa category is the right fit. Now, there's no one size fits all kind of a structure for this. So the right pathway really depends on the client's objectives. Is it business expansion? Is it wealth preservation? Is it property investment, or is it just purely family relocation? So, each of these things need to be considered. The most common, sort of journey to achieve a golden visa at this point is through investment, and actually through property investments. And that, again, is specific. It has different terminologies. So we have the one that, if you're investing 2 million dirhams worth of in your property, you're eligible for a golden visa. Now, beyond that, if the value is less than that, then you're eligible for a green visa or a shorter term visa as well. But the most important thing is something that even our friends here at Davia mostly focus on, is the high net worth individuals. And that's there's a route through a fixed deposit or through financial investments that can then help them qualify for the golden visa as well. For anything.
You're right.
Yeah.
We do love the financial investment, the fixed deposit one. The reason being, like, it can be, we can open remotely a bank account in the UAE for the investor. We can transfer the money here, put it under a fixed deposit for 2 years only. And this fixed deposit is remunerated. And then the investor becomes eligible for himself and his ascendant and descendant to a 10-year visa, because a lot of the African families, they want to come here also with their parents, not just with their children. So the good news is even the parents are eligible for a 10-year visa in that sense. And then because our clients are often new to the UAE, it gives them this 2-year period to figure out if they want to invest that money in real estate, in operating businesses, or in anything else. When you go towards the real estate, you're already taking a decision to mobilize your money in the real estate, because it's important to say that once you are on that real estate asset, you cannot sell it without losing the residency, right? So that's where for our African families, we do tend to prefer the fixed deposit route. But as you very, very rightly said from the beginning, it really depends on each profile, on their needs, their requirements, and their objectives as an individual, but also as a family. So if we can go to the next section, whereby I know there's your favorite category hiding in there, and I want you to tell us, if possible, a bit more about the athletes, because I know you have some nice stories to tell about athletes moving to the UAE.
For sure. I mean, see, one thing that we need to also identify here is that you don't need to invest 2 million dirhams either into finances or to property to achieve this. There are many other routes that are possible as well. And for our role is to assess each client and identify the circumstances and then the most suitable path. So some of the few that really stand out and which are really very quick routes into this is one of my favorites, which is professional athletes. So when we speak about Africa is abundant with sports potentials, with athletes, with professional team players, be it sprinters, be it in football. And for all of these, there is a very quick route through the relevant sports departments that they can achieve these long-term residencies. And this not only provides them a residency, it actually unlocks them to the world-class facilities, one of the best infrastructure for sport development in this world. And this is not only for the athletes that have made it, this is for athletes that are being recognized as the upcoming talent. And so I've had quite a few cases coming out of various parts of Africa that have actually gone down this route, and we truly enjoyed that journey to see that UAE and Dubai is not just interested in the money. It's not just about money. They want to improve their society and gradually bring in the best of the world in every aspect, and that's what the Golden Visa really stands for. So whether you're a great student, you're an overachiever in your class, in your university, this is a path that gives you the right to actually, become part of this country's residents, and not only you, your families as well. So your pure talent alone can define a new life for your whole family, and this is something where nowhere else in the world can you see this happen. And obviously for people that are looking for a lower investment threshold, you can still get a green visa, which is a 5-year renewable visa, through making any form of an property investment. So as long as it is physically in your name, the property itself, you're eligible for a 5-year visa as well, based on that assessment. So
yeah, that's a very important point you're mentioning. When we go the real estate path, the asset needs to be on your name for you to be eligible, right? If it's under a company, a foundation, an SPV, or if it's under someone, for example, your partner, but you guys are not married, then you cannot become eligible as a direct eligibility, but you could potentially be eligible as a, let's say, a child if his parents as a dependent under the investor potentially. I want to underline one thing, please, because not everybody is fast running after a ball or fast running in after anything, let's say. So I see on this slide the freelancing visa. I think there are a lot of talents in Africa that would want to benefit from the ecosystem we have here, the incubator, the accelerators, the banks, the investors. So they may want to set themselves up here and work from here to be able to access all these facilities. And I see here freelancing visa. So if you're not an athlete, if you don't have a special sport talent, but you're developing a fintech or health tech or whatever, how does the freelancer one work?
See, as I would like to reiterate that as long as you believe that you are talented enough and you have, the skill set that puts you above the average, you have possibly a very good opportunity at making this happen. So when we speak about freelancers, essentially, in today's day and age, a lot of people are now earning money independently, sufficiently, through different channels, whether it's crypto trading, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's, even Instagram, social media influencers. So again, I think UAE is one of the best hubs for influencers globally in the world as well. And this freelancer visa is sort of attracted to anybody who has an independent revenue flow from any kind of these various elements. They're eligible for this. The process is very simple. There are qualifying ministries that we submit these your documents to, an application to, and very quickly, we receive the answers for it as well, and it allows you to then operate independently from UAE as a resident, as a long-term resident.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I know not everybody can be immediately eligible for a golden visa or a green visa, because as we have seen on the slide and through our conversation, there are some very specific requirements. But if in the meantime, we still want to avail a residency in the UAE, there are other options. Some of them you've already touched upon, but there are others that I would love to hear your thoughts about.
See, while the golden visa receives most of the attention, it's sort of the star of the show. The reality is that not every client needs to invest 2 million, as I said before as well. Or the reality is that not all of them need to be extremely talented to achieve, a residential status here. So this is where us as Prodigy Group have as a key area of focus, where we specialize in practical residency solutions that provide access to the UAE for significantly lower investment levels, whether through, whether it's setting up a company, or whether it's to, if you have a job here, then it's an employment visa, whether you're looking at various different kinds of conditionalities, or even if you have family that you want to sponsor. So these are all kinds of residential elements that we look after, on a day-to-day basis. So this is generally where most of the volume is. Whereas, golden visa is definitely a pathway which can start from one of these options here as well. And then we can sort of work our way once you're familiarized with the market, have an establishment here, and then proceed towards a golden visa status. So the majority of residents in the UAE at the moment are currently going through this process at the moment.
Absolutely, because more and more of us have become eligible by living and working here and investing in this country, which we come to call home. Now, let's suppose we are UAE resident, or let's suppose our audience avails the UAE residency through us, hopefully, and hopefully a golden visa, and if not, another type of visa. What other benefits, let's say, will come with that residency, whether they choose to physically live in the UAE or elsewhere.
See, this is where we have a term that we use very commonly. It's called residentialized. It's the visa is the first step. Beyond that, this is where most of the people would then face the real life challenges in this country. It's to set up the bank account, your personal account, your company accounts, so having your ID. How do you live? Where do you live? How do you get the leases? How do you, lease a space for your office? What's the best health insurance? Where should your kids go to school? How many hospitals? What are the options that you have? Or quite frankly, as you said before, most of the people are looking to also bring in their parents, not just their children. So family relocations. And what are the options?
And if I may, mostly bring their parents for health reasons, because we have the best health
healthcare
facilities
system in the world. Yeah.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Our goal is not simply to obtain a visa. That's not the end of our job. This is where our job starts.
Absolutely. I just realized that one of the most important elements of being a UAE resident is missing from our slide. Can you guess what it is?
I'll be honest. There's a list of things that I can think of as well, but for the sake of keeping it within time, I'll let you answer that one as well.
Taxes. You can avail the tax residency certificate.
Of course,
and then you could possibly justify to the other jurisdictions that are running after you for tax purposes that you're actually a tax resident in the UAE. Which is very, very important, all the more for people who have liquid portfolios, life policies, etc. When they redeem, they're very happy to show to the bank in Switzerland or in France or in the US, hey, we are tax residents in the UAE, so we don't pay taxes on the value added or on the capital creation, let's say, the value creation of our tools. And of course, there are many more scenarios, but I'm just thinking, how did we miss the tax one here? It's a very important one.
The presentation should have started with tax, because I think that's one of the most focal points of this residency. Absolutely. And in comparison to Europe or the North America, where they have very stringent laws on how they will actually identify you as a tax resident in those jurisdictions, it is by far much simpler and much easier in the UAE. The minute you become a resident here, that's it. Your taxes have, in essence, been wiped off. Anisha, I remember discussing with you that I had a client working in Canada, and when they were taking the net effect of taxes from that jurisdiction, it was coming around to, for everything he was earning, he was paying off taxes in approximation of 55 to 57%. So we helped relocate that client here, and he's one of our happiest clients at the moment. He's not paying any taxes, not paying any personal income taxes. There's a very nominal corporate tax that he's paying. There's zero capital appreciation tax here. So these are the things. This is the one of the most pinnacle reasons why UAE should be considered as your home.
Exactly. So just before I continue, I would like to remind our audience that they can write in the chat their questions so that we can help answer them. We have a question on dual tax treaty with South Africa. I will need Maksud to ask the question to Mohammed, our tax advisor, because I don't know it out of my head, the answer to this question. So I would like to ask Findile Zaba, who asked the question, if she can just drop her email address in the chat, in the Q&A chat, so that our tax advisor Mohammed, who is not on the call, who's not as a co-organizer with me right now, could come back to you by email, please, unless I have Mohammed. No, I don't have Mohammed in the organizers, so I cannot answer the question live. I'm so sorry. But I will continue. So thank you so much. So the next step for me, for Dawiya Family Office, I also wanted to insist on residency and legacy planning, because I believe that for African families and African entrepreneurs, it's often a topic that is overlooked. And being in the UAE, owning assets in the UAE, organizing your wealth through the UAE might be extremely important when we look at transmission of assets to the next generation, all the more for families that are from Muslim confession. Because in the UAE, we do have a lot of tools and a lot of solutions to structure the operations, but also the transmission of your operating businesses and your patrimonial wealth to enable legacy for you and to enable eternity for what you have created during your lifetime. So that's very, very important, and that's what Dawiya Family Office specializes in. So legacy residency, is a first step, but it doesn't stop there. And we just use residency as, let's say, an entry point to welcome these families in the UAE and show them all the possibilities that exist to be able to manage their wealth from the UAE and onwards. That's all for me. I just want to. Did you want to add anything on the legacy matter, please?
See, I mean, I would love to add things. You know me, I love talking about these topics as well. But I think one of the key advantages for the clients that are partnering up with the Dawiya Family Office, or for that matter, us as well, is that, you know, we help build frameworks, we help build structures, you know, around their residency. It's both for their assets within UAE and also internationally. So for African families and business owners, the conversation is not about, you know, obtaining visas. It is to protect what they've built. As business expands internationally and assets are, you know, across multiple countries, succession planning becomes increasingly important. And I feel like building wealth is just one achievement, but successfully, you know, passing it on to your the next generation is where legacy planning and where Dawiya Family Office comes in and becomes, you know, one of your strategic partners in doing so.
Absolutely. Now, just before we move to the Q&A, and first, just before we move to the process and then the Q&A, I just wanted to make a very important note. First of all, when it comes to immigration authorities in the UAE, banks, etc., we do depend on, of course, the state owned stakeholders and state-managed stakeholders and the compliance managed by central bank, etc., to be able to obtain the residency for our client and to open the bank account for our clients, etc. So it is important to work with professionals to achieve your goals in the UAE, because it's not a simple process. It's a process we can make easy and simple, but on its own nature, it's not simple. And it's very, very important to alert our audience on the fact that there are maybe scammers and maybe unprofessional people out there that could make you lose your time and money. So please, before you consider working with anyone in the UAE, do your check, do the due diligence, know who you're working with. And just as a last point before the Q&A, Shahrukh, if you can tell us about the best route now to get started in your journey into the UAE.
See, I think the first step and the most critical step is actually to, you know, sit down with us, book an appointment with us, you know, let us understand what your requirements are. And based on that, you know, as Anisha said as well, that, you know, this is precisely why we are here. You know, we are here to expertly advise you on matters which are not just about, you know, getting you, let's say, a company, getting you a property. It's about, you know, what your legacy is, what your path forward is. And this is where we systematically then, you know, design a path for you. And Our commitment is simple. We provide accurate guidance, we manage the process, and professionally help our clients through this journey. So your step one would be to get in touch with, qualified advisors such as the Davia Family Office, or for that matter, us as well. And as you said, Anisa, before as well, that unfortunately this is a very sales-driven market. So a lot of the people out here have targets, and those targets are what they're trying to sell you. So, but when it comes to companies like us, we're looking at it as a long-term relationship with the clients. So we're here to give them an honest, trustworthy opinion, which can be verified in the market as well. And my job always is to make sure that I educate my client as much as I can, so they can make informed decisions. We have the routes, we have the options. It's your choice now, based on our.
That's exactly what we're doing, right? Through our webinars, we're educating our audience so they know which door to knock in and who to talk to be well advised.
For sure. And I'm once again, I'm very happy to be here. And anytime you need my advice, feel free to ask us.
And we will be sharing your contact details with our audience as well, so they can reach out directly to you. Now we're going to move, and are we in? Wow, we're very, very good on time. That's great. We're going to move to Q&A. So thank you so much. And now I'm going to start asking questions and see if you or I would be the best at answering them. So the first question is regarding South Africa and the dual tax treaty for Findile Xaba. So for this one, we will ask our tax advisor, Mohammed Al Sayed, to answer by email. So we have your email. Thank you very much for that. Then we have another question. Can the 2 million dirham bank deposit be withdrawn after getting the visa? Is there a time period to keep it before withdrawing it? So
Anisa, I'll let you answer that one. I'll let you answer that one. This is more your bread and butter than mine.
Exactly, because my background is in banking and I do understand banking well, and I do work a lot with the banks in the UAE indeed. And yes, the answer is yes, it's locked for 2 years. The good news is that it's remunerated. Right now, it's remunerated between 3.5, let's say, and 4.75% per year, depending on which bank the deposit is made with. We usually work with the 2-3 largest, most solid banks in the UAE, and it does help avail the golden visa quite quickly. The pre-approval is very quick, let's say, to obtain. Once we make the deposit in the bank account, the bank issues a nomination letter. That letter goes to immigration for pre-approval, and then once we get the pre-approval, we call the client in, and we process the golden visa in 3 to 5 working days, let's say, maximum. So it's a route that we indeed prefer for our client, but you have to keep your cash locked in a fixed deposit for 2 years. Thank you for asking the question.
I would like to add one thing, that when she says that she can get it done, it happens very quickly. It's not that it happens very quickly. It's that Davia Family Office can make it happen very quickly. So that's something that you should keep into consideration as well. Their relationship with the banks actually makes it a very fast process.
Thank you for the question, Shifana. I will go to the next question from Sharon, Zimbabwe. Is there a certain minimum net worth that would make sense before a family can consider setting up a UAE foundation? What are the setup costs and annual maintenance costs for a foundation? Do you want me to take that one?
It's up to you. Yeah, go for it. You're in a good role. Go for it.
I wanted to ask Mia to tell us about the cost. Mia, can you unmute yourself first and tell us about the cost of setting up a foundation in the UAE? You've just set up one with the DIFC. You've just finished setting up one. No, she's not here. Okay, she might be busy somewhere at Dubai Economic Department. Mia is our execution officer, and she just finished setting up a DIFC foundation for one of our clients, which will allow me to answer the question of Sharon. Sharon, there is no minimum to get a foundation set up. We actually just set up one where we only contributed 1,000 dirhams. The reason we set up that foundation in the IFC is to enable the management of an asset we have in the IFC, but also to enable, we've thought of it as a first step before we build the full legacy story for that client. So we started it with just contributing 1,000 dirham in there. So there is no minimum to get started. The question is more of return on investment, let's say, or cost versus benefits. So depending on the structure of the family, depending on your objective, etc., we do usually say to our client that from a total of 5 million euros of worth, not net worth, but worth, it becomes very advisable to set up a foundation. But for our African families that might be of Muslim confession, then sometimes there's no other option but setting up a foundation, even though your assets are below 5 million euros, because the foundation is the only way for you to protect the asset and to transmit the asset without falling under Sharia or without falling under family complexities. The cost will really depend on whether the council members are internal to the family or whether they are professionals. So setting up a foundation is no more than $2,000. However, if you are going to use external council members, then you have to provision for the cost of these council members per month or per year, depending on who you're working with. Some can be quite affordable, some can be extremely expensive. So that's my answer to Sharon. Do you want to add anything, please, Shahrukh?
Just one thing I would like to add here is that in terms of foundation, I think you've answered it perfectly. But one of the key things that we see on a day-to-day business here is that the UAE allows any legal entity, which is any LLC that you set up here, to actually own assets within the UAE and also internationally for most situations. So whereas foundation is sort of your best solution for the structures, but starting off small, you can actually just set up an LLC here, and then that LLC can also own without any restrictions or limitations. So it really just depends on structuring and as we keep saying that once we understand the requirements, we would be better to address what options we can put on the table.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Another question. Greetings from Nigeria. I work as a private trust officer with Emerging Africa Trustee Limited. That question is from Aziza. I would like to know the investment minimum for eligibility under the Golden Visa through the fixed deposit route. So that minimum is 2 million dirhams, Aziza. I'm going to continue because there are a lot of questions. May you please unpack more on the holding company assistance? I'm in the process of registering a holding company for my 3 companies in South Africa because we accumulate too many assets, but my holding company would be a trust. In the UAE, can trust be used as a holding company? Yes, and in the UAE, the closest legislation to the trust is called the foundation. So foundation in the UAE does not mean charitable foundation. It means a trust where the council represent or is the equivalent of the trustee in South Africa. So your council composed of your council members will have the same role as the trustee, but they will be embedded in the foundation and not external to the foundation. So under the UAE legislation and set of rules and regulations, the foundation can answer extremely well your requirement that today you're covering under a trust. And what I will do, it's the lady called Findile Xaba. I am going to send you a link to a webinar we've done on foundation, and I'm going to send you some readings on foundation so you can indeed learn more about how it works in the UAE. Then we have a comment from Mohammed Ahmed Goni from Nigeria saying that he does not have the mentioned qualities, but if opportunity would be given to me to explore my potential, I'm absolutely ready. So I'm not sure how he wants us to help, but please send us an email and let us know how we can help you. Then From Benny, I am planning to visit the UAE in September and would like to set up a meeting with you to discuss this further. With pleasure. Please be our guest. If one is considering the UAE as a tax-efficient base to set up, is Nigeria in any tax treaty with the UAE as a resident? So that's a very good question. So as a UAE resident, if you become a UAE resident on an individual basis, you are taxed under UAE rules and set of rules and regulations. Now, your businesses, if they are operating in Nigeria, would remain taxed under the Nigerian regime. But depending on what you are contemplating, we can help you. We have a tax advisor within Dawia Family Office that can sit with you and look at the different aspects of your question and help you answer it. I don't believe we have a dual tax treaty with Nigeria. I'm not sure, but I don't believe there is one. But we will look into it and come back to you on that question. Now, can an employment visa holder later apply for golden visa? That's for you.
Yes, of course. As we discussed earlier as well, that all of us residents living here are in some form either eligible or are reaching eligibility. So as an employee, there are various different routes that you have as well. One of the most common ones is if you are a highly skilled employee, so and therefore have a salary above a certain limit, which at the moment stands at 30,000 dirhams. So if your salary is above 30,000 dirhams, so I think within a matter of a few months, you can then apply for the golden visa, which will then be eligible for the next 10 years. And whether you then beyond that continue that employment or not, the golden visa is stays with you for the next 10 years and is renewable as well. The idea behind this is that as long as you're a highly skilled employee, UAE wants you to be a resident. So that's sort of the general takeaway from this. And beyond that, there are other options, avenues available as well, but that naturally involve, either you putting in some form of commitment or some form of financial commitments that will then enable you to become a golden visa eligible person.
Absolutely. Now we have a question regarding attestation. Should family documents be attested before moving to the UAE?
Yes, this is one of the few things, and it's a very good question because a lot of our clients actually end up coming here and then they end up spending additionally a lot more money trying to get the documents translated, trying to get them attested back home. So our recommendation always is there are a few documents that should always be attested through, and I'll guide you through what it is. Firstly, the marriage certificate, the birth certificates, and educational documents. So your best way forward would be to have them attested, both from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in your jurisdictions, and then beyond that from the UAE consulates or embassies in your jurisdictions. So this then allows you to then present documents here which have been verified, vetted by not only the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the country they are originating from, but also from the UAE government as well. And then once you're here, any other additional attestations that are required are naturally handled by our teams.
Absolutely. Then I have, sorry if I'm mispronouncing, but I think it's Bryce Edem. Hello, I'm joining from Nigeria. Possible to have the recording of the webinar if it was recorded? The answer is yes, and we will send you the recording. Sharon is saying, thank you, well answered. Then we have a question, can the foundation then sponsor residency visa for family members?
Is that for me, or I've left the foundation questions to you, Anissa?
Okay, so no, foundation cannot sponsor any visas for now. So what we do is we put the assets under an operating company below the foundation, and then we value that company. And if the company has a value of more than 2 million dirhams, then the company itself becomes the sponsor for the golden visa. So until now, the foundation, because the foundation doesn't have any UBO, any owners as such, cannot sponsor family members. So we have Findile saying, I have been doing research between mainland and free zone companies. I'm still not 100% clear on the main differences when it comes to market access. May you please expand on the differences? I have companies with services in accounting, taxation, and advisory, one in technology, fintech, and communication, media, and corporate training. So the very important point here is corporate training, because I think all the other activities can be mainland, free zone, RAC, offshore, whatever. But when it comes to training, if you are willing to issue a training certificate to your trainees, what would be the answer?
So, Anisha, thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer this as well. I think one of the main things which will help, our attendees understand this is that between a free zone and a mainland, the positioning is as such that, look, simply put, if your work is B2B, which is business to business, then free zone setups would be ideal for you as well. But if you're looking to do any form of business or provide services directly to end user customers, then that is a mainland category. So as long as your business and accounting and bookkeeping services, as you suggested, is a service that is offered to businesses, this is a B2B route, and therefore can work optimally with a mainland setup, but can also work optimally with a free zone setup. But let's suppose that you were in the business of selling shoes. Now, if you're selling shoes to just retailers, you can operate from a free zone very comfortably. But if you're selling the shoes to the customer, then this is a mainland activity. So in essence, you just need to identify the activity and see whether your clients are going to be businesses or whether they'll be end customers. So this is, I think, one of the major classifications.
Shahrukh, I have an important point here, because we've gone through it very recently with one of our clients, which is the training part. If training you want to be able to give a certification to the trainees, to the people you're training, and that certification, for example, the organism that will give you that certification is KHDA, you have to be in mainland and have your academy or your the space you're training in mainland. If you have it in Shams, then your office needs to be in Shams, and the regulator will be the Shams Education Authority, which I'm not remembering the name right now. So it's very, very important to know what you're trying to achieve. And if there is a certificate being handed to the trainees, then we have to consider mainland versus free zones in a different, slightly different optic.
And I think it also fits into the classification that, training is given to an individual customer. You know what I mean? So it does fall under B2C. You're as a business are going to a consumer. So like I said, that as far as classifications, there's quite a lot between them. But as a general rule of thumb, these are the certain things that you need to consider. And we're here to hash out any other information you need specifically. That's what we're here for.
I think we will need a full meeting with Findile, because she has a lot of very interesting questions, and we are 8 minutes to the end of this webinar, so we need to be quick. I would like to ask about the Dubai Golden Visa. What are the requirements? For how long does it last? So this is Bryce. So Bryce, we're going to, because I think Bryce missed the beginning of the webinar. So we're going to send you the webinar so you can see there are different categories, different criteria, and then we can set up a call with you if you drop your email. Yes, she dropped her email. So we're going to set up a call with you to take you through the different requirements on everyone once you have looked at the webinar slides. I need links and videos about the different routes. Okay, done. That's the same person asking us. Can you also please send the information and link to okay, a lot of people asking us about foundations. So we're going to say, so there is Ridwan Abraham's asking us about foundations. We will send. Hello there. My question is, as an individual entity and without all the qualities mentioned, how can I secure the golden visa? As an individual person and without I would say you cannot, but depends on which one you are looking at. But if you don't have any of the requirements we have listed as an individual, you cannot secure the golden visa. So I'm not sure I understand the question of
Lisa, I would
Mohammed.
like to add that these are there's a lot more avenues where you can achieve a golden visa from. So perhaps we should jump on a call with this gentleman or lady as
Yes.
well, and I'm sure
Yes.
we'll find out some possible pathway for them, whether now or in the near future.
Okay, absolutely. So Mohammed Ahmed, you have to drop your email address in the chat so we can set up a call with you to go through your own profile and see how we can help you. We have someone called Yusuf Abdel Wahab Shibu. Can you please explain the skills required to be referred to as a high-skill employee?
So realistically, I have a very short answer for this as well. It is basically that as long as the company that has employed you is paying you a salary of over 30,000 dirhams. So that could be in any specific skill set, as long as the company considers you a high value employee
and
you are
pays
eligible.
you. Yeah, but also in that case, you need to have a bachelor or a master's,
have
and
a
you need to go through
degree,
the
you
Ministry
have to
of
have a
Education.
minimum level of education, and again, these degrees needs to be attested by the relevant bodies, needs to be attested by the UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and that brings you to the eligibility.
No, even more, because we need to go through this quadra with the Ministry of Education, some provider platform called Quadra, where it's not just an attestation, it's an equivalence that needs to be obtained.
Of course, the equivalency needs to be obtained as well. And generally, as with any golden visa application, it has to go through a process where a governing body has to then, give the authorization or award the golden visa status. So, it's not just that everybody is eligible. Everybody has to go through that process, and then the eligibility is confirmed by the governing bodies.
Absolutely. If I set up a company in the UAE, what visa am I eligible for? And can I also get visas for my employees?
Of course. See, there are over 43 different economic zones where you can set up your business in the UAE. Again, based on the nature of your work, the nature of your visa requirements, number of employees, sort of business positioning, we are here to help guide you through that process as well. In terms of the visas that you will receive, there are different classifications. You can get an investor visa, a partner visa, employee visa, or for that matter, a dependent visa, depending on the structure of the company and how you've layered it out as well. So there are many different avenues involved. So this is a long discussion. This is another webinar in itself.
Another webinar on its own, because we need to differentiate between residency and work permit as well. We need to differentiate the two legs of what it means to have a UAE visa, between brackets. There's the residency side of it, and there's the employment side of it. So yes, Ibu can come back for our next webinar, please. Please, if we need advice or roadmap on how to get the golden visa, how can we access to Mr. Shahrukh Khan? So we will share with you the email and the phone number of Mr. Shahrukh Khan in the chat. Maybe, Harry, maybe you can do that. Maybe you can post our details so people can contact us on the chat. I'm a farmer from Nigeria with diverse experience in farming. What kind of visa do I need? It will depend on the size of your farm, I would say. How would you answer that?
I mean, again, there's a lot of different avenues we can look at it. Maybe we can look at it from a trade specific. What is he growing on those farms? Maybe we can set up a trading hub here. So again, it's too vague at this point to just say, I own a farm and what kind of visas. It depends on what you're doing with the farm. There's many options.
Exactly. So we have the email address. Some people are dropping their email address. So someone is asking 30,000 dirhams per year, right? No, it's per month. 30,000
per month.
Basic salary per month. With respect to this employer, do they have a minimum annual revenue the company needs to be making before the employee can qualify for an employee visa?
So, if you allow me to answer that one as well, I mean, naturally, as I said, that it goes through a review process. It's not that everybody just becomes, eligible overnight. There is a process to it. And naturally, while there's no fixed amount to the revenue that the company needs to achieve, the company needs to have a sizable enough revenue to justify the salaries it is paying its employees. And therefore, that's a case assessment that the governing body actually looks at. So it's a very good question. But in essence, at this moment, there's no hard and fast number assigned to what the revenue needs to be.
So absolutely, with that, we have gone through all the questions asked in the chat. There are no questions left to be answered right now. So with that, I would like to thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Shahrukh, for joining us. Here we have our contact details, at least our website. But Harry will be sharing our contact details with everybody, so they can reach out directly to us. And for everyone who dropped their email address in the chat, we will be in touch with you right away, and we will arrange for a call, a 30-minute discovery call, free session with Shahrukh and with myself if required. On that, I want to say thank you to everybody. I want to say a big thank you to our PRO, Maksud. I don't know if he's available. I think he's not available, but Maksud, thank you so much. If you can show your face just 1 second, we want to thank you, and we want everybody to see who is behind the work here. Congratulations.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, everybody. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi. Thank you for preparing the content and the webinar for Shahrukh and I to present today. And hopefully next time you will be presenting it yourself, inshallah. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you during our next webinar, which should be next month. And for the topic, if there are any topics you're interested to hear us on, please send us an email and let us know what would be good for us to prepare for you. Thank you.
For sure. And thank you, everybody. Again, once again, Anisa and the Davia family as well. Thank you for the opportunity. And once again, Maksud, for arranging this. I really enjoyed the questions, and I look forward to hearing more from all the attendees as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Harry, for helping with the digital organization. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.